A familiar wheezing, groaning sound echoes through the Enterprise bridge. Captain Picard's eyes widen as the impossible materializes before him. A blue police box from 20th century Earth. The TARDIS doors fly open, and out steps a man in a navy blue coat, his silver hair wild and eyebrows fierce. The crew tenses, hands moving towards phasers. Worf growls.
"Intruder alert!"
Data tilts his head, analyzing the anomaly. The stranger's Scottish brogue fills the air.
"I'm the Doctor, and you're all in terrible danger. Now where's the tea? I always think better with a cup."
The crew exchanges bewildered glances, realizing their mission just got a lot more complicated.
"Well then, who's in charge here?"
The Doctor asks, his Scottish brogue cutting through the stunned silence on the bridge. Picard steps forward, tugging at his uniform.
"I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise of the United Federation of Planets. And you are?"
"I'm the Doctor,"
comes the reply, accompanied by a dismissive wave of the hand.
"Now, let's get down to business. You've got a problem, and I'm here to solve it."
The crew exchanges glances, unsure how to react to this sudden intrusion. Picard's eyes narrow as he studies the newcomer.
"I'm afraid I can't simply hand over control of my ship to an unknown entity. We have protocols to follow."
The Doctor scoffs, pacing around the bridge.
"Protocols? The universe is in danger, and you're worried about protocols."
Picard's jaw tightens.
"Our protocols exist for a reason, Doctor. They've served us well in countless dangerous situations."
"Oh yes, I'm sure they have,"
the Doctor retorts, his voice dripping with sarcasm.
"But this isn't your average spatial anomaly. We're dealing with a threat that could unravel the fabric of reality itself."
The tension on the bridge escalates as the two leaders face off. Worf, ever vigilant, growls from his tactical station.
"Captain, should I escort this intruder to the brig?"
The Doctor whirls around, sonic screwdriver raised.
"I'd like to see you try. This little device could shut down your entire weapons system before you even reach for your little laser gun."
Picard raises a hand to calm his security chief.
"That won't be necessary, Mr. Worf. However, Doctor, I must insist that you explain your presence here and the nature of this threat you speak of."
"Oh, must you?"
The Doctor rolls his eyes.
"Fine. Short version. There's a temporal anomaly tearing through the boundaries between our universes. If we don't stop it, both your Federation and my entire timeline will cease to exist. Happy now?"
The bridge crew looks to Picard, awaiting his response. The captain's expression remains stern, but there's a glimmer of understanding in his eyes.
"If what you say is true, then we must act quickly. However, I cannot condone reckless action that might endanger my crew or this ship."
The Doctor throws his hands up in exasperation.
"Reckless? I've been saving planets and rewriting time while your ancestors were still figuring out warp drive. A little trust wouldn't go amiss, Captain."
As the two continue to argue, Data steps forward, his head tilted in that characteristic way of his.
"If I may interject, Captain Doctor, I believe both of your approaches have merit in this situation."
All eyes turn to the android as he continues.
Captain Picard's adherence to protocol and careful consideration has successfully guided the Enterprise through numerous crises. However, the Doctor's extensive experience with temporal anomalies and interdimensional threats could prove invaluable in this unique circumstance.
The Doctor raises an eyebrow, impressed by Data's analysis. Picard nods slowly, considering his second officer's words. Data concludes,
Perhaps a collaborative approach, combining the strengths of both leadership styles, would be the most logical course of action.
A moment of silence falls over the bridge as both the Doctor and Picard contemplate this suggestion. Finally, Picard speaks, his voice measured.
"Your analysis is sound, Mr. Data. Doctor, while I may not agree with your methods, I cannot ignore the gravity of the situation you describe. I propose we work together to face this threat."
The Doctor's expression softens slightly.
"Well, I suppose two heads are better than one, even if one of them is a bit too attached to its rulebook."
Picard allows himself a small smile.
And I suppose a little creative thinking might be necessary in this case, even if it comes from an eccentric man in a blue box.
With the tension diffused, the two leaders turn to face the main view screen together. The bridge crew collectively exhales, relieved that a compromise has been reached. The enemy revealed. The bridge crew's relief is short-lived. As Picard and the Doctor face the view screen, a chilling sight materializes before them. A massive cube shimmers into view, its surface a nightmarish fusion of cold, metallic Borg technology and the angular, imposing design of Cybermen armor. The crew gasps collectively, their worst fears realized in this unholy alliance of universes.
By the rings of Gallifrey.
The Doctor whispers, his eyes wide with disbelief.
It's worse than I thought.
Picard's face pales, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. The sight of the cube brings back flashes of his time as Locatus, the psychological scars of his assimilation still raw. He fights to maintain his composure, but his voice wavers slightly as he speaks.
What are we dealing with, Doctor?
The Time Lord's expression is grim.
Captain, we're facing a threat unlike anything either of our universes has ever encountered. The Cybermen and the Borg have somehow merged, creating a hybrid race that combines the worst aspects of both.
Data steps forward, his golden eyes analyzing the monstrosity on the screen.
Fascinating. The technological integration appears to be far more advanced than either species' original capabilities.
The Doctor nods, his Scottish brogue thick with concern.
Precisely, Data. The Borg's collective consciousness has merged with the Cybermen's emotional suppression technology. They're not just assimilating bodies and technology anymore. They're upgrading entire civilizations.
As if on cue, the view screen flickers and a face appears. It's a grotesque amalgamation of Borg implants and Cyberman features, its eyes a cold, lifeless blue. When it speaks, the voice is a discordant mix of monotone Cyberman speech and the electronic chorus of the Borg collective.
We are the Cyber-Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. You will be upgraded.
The bridge falls silent, the weight of the threat hanging heavy in the air. Riker is the first to break the silence, his voice tight with urgency.
Captain, we should retreat immediately. We're not equipped to handle this kind of threat.
The Doctor shakes his head vehemently.
No, Commander. Running will only delay the inevitable. This new race has the relentless drive of the Cybermen combined with the Borg's advanced technology. They'll chase us across time and space if they have to.
Suddenly, the Enterprise shudders violently. Worf's voice cuts through the chaos.
Captain, they've locked onto us with a tractor beam.
Picard stands, tugging down his uniform jacket in a familiar gesture of determination. He exchanges a grim nod with the Doctor, two leaders united in the face of an unprecedented threat.
Mr. Worf, ready phasers. It's time we showed our guests some resistance.
As the crew springs into action, Data and the Doctor engage in rapid-fire technobabble, their minds working in tandem to unravel the mystery of this terrifying merger.
The quantum signature of the cube suggests a temporal collision point.
Data observes, his fingers flying over the console. The Doctor nods vigorously.
Yes. And look at the chronoton particles surrounding their hull. It's as if they've been fused at the subatomic level across multiple timelines.
Their analysis is cut short as another violent tremor rocks the ship. Geordi's voice crackles over the comm system.
Captain, their tractor beam is draining our shields. We can't take much more of this.
Picard's jaw sets in determination.
Options, gentlemen.
The Doctor's eyes light up with a dangerous glint.
Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, possibly suicidal, but it might just work. We need to use the TARDIS to create a temporal feedback loop, amplifying it through your deflector dish.
Data tilts his head, processing the suggestion.
Theoretically, such a maneuver could disrupt their chronoton field, potentially destabilizing their fusion.
Picard nods, his voice firm.
Make it so. Doctor, whatever you need, it's yours.
As the crew rushes to implement the plan, the Cyber-Borg cube looms ever closer on the view screen. The Doctor and Picard stand side by side, two of sci-fi's greatest heroes, united against a threat that could unravel the very fabric of their universes. A meeting of minds. The Doctor's eyes light up as he notices Data's intense curiosity.
Oh, brilliant! An android with a positronic brain,
he exclaims, his Scottish accent thick with enthusiasm. Data tilts his head, his golden eyes fixed on the peculiar device in the Time Lord's hand.
Fascinating. May I examine your device, Doctor?
He asks, his voice tinged with genuine interest. The Doctor hands over his sonic screwdriver, and Data begins to analyze it with lightning speed. The two minds engage in a rapid-fire exchange of ideas that leaves the rest of the crew struggling to keep up.
The quantum resonance of your sonic device is remarkable,
Data observes.
Its ability to interface with various technologies could prove invaluable in our current predicament.
The Doctor nods enthusiastically.
This little beauty can do everything from scanning life forms to creating temporal shields. Imagine what we could do if we combined it with your positronic brain.
Their collaboration is interrupted by a menacing sound echoing through the ship's corridors. The Cyber-Borg have begun their infiltration attempt. As the crew scrambles to respond, they realize that Data may be unaffected by the Cyber-Borg's assimilation attempts. The Doctor's eyes widen with realization.
Your unique nature, Data. It's the key to defeating them.
He shouts.
Your positronic brain is resistant to their control.
As the rest of the crew fends off the Cyber-Borg incursion, the Doctor and Data retreat to a quiet corner of the bridge, formulating a plan that involves a complex interplay of temporal mechanics and android cognition.
If we create a temporal feedback loop using the TARDIS,
the Doctor muses,
and then amplify it through your positronic matrix.
Data nods, his processors working at incredible speeds.
We could create a cascading effect that would disrupt the Cyber-Borg's temporal cohesion.
Geordi joins the conversation, adding his engineering expertise.
If we route the temporal feedback through the Enterprise's deflector dish, we could create a wide area effect that would target the entire Cyber-Borg fleet.
The trio's ideas become increasingly intricate, discussing quantum entanglement and cross-dimensional temporal physics. Data's analytical mind grasps the full potential of the Doctor's time travel technology, seeing applications even the Doctor hadn't considered. As their plan takes shape, the rest of the bridge crew listens in stunned silence. The combination of Data's analytical prowess, the Doctor's vast experience with time manipulation, and Geordi's practical engineering knowledge has produced a solution that seems almost magical in its complexity and ingenuity. Unexpected alliances. As the crew marvels at their intricate plan, a familiar voice cuts through the stunned silence.
Well, well, Doctor. Still causing trouble across time and space, I see.
The Doctor's eyes dart to a corner of the bridge, widening in shock.
Guinan, what are you doing here?
He exclaims. The Enterprise crew exchanges puzzled glances, unsure how to react to this unexpected reunion. Guinan steps forward, her eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and wisdom.
Let's just say I have a knack for being in the right place at the right time,
she says cryptically. Captain Picard, sensing the crew's confusion, steps in.
Guinan has been a trusted advisor and friend to the Enterprise for years. Her insights have proven invaluable in times of crisis.
He turns to Guinan, his brow furrowed.
But I had no idea you knew the Doctor.
Guinan smiles enigmatically.
Oh, the Doctor and I go way back. We've crossed paths in more times and places than either of us can count.
She gives the Time Lord a knowing look.
though I suspect he's still trying to figure out exactly how and why.
The doctor runs a hand through his hair, clearly flustered.
Guinan has a unique relationship with time,
He explains to the crew.
She's one of the few beings in the universe who can sense temporal disturbances, and she's got a habit of showing up when she's needed most.
Worf, ever the skeptic, steps forward with a scowl.
How can we trust someone who appears out of nowhere, claiming to know our enemy?
He growls. The doctor turns to face the Klingon, a spark of recognition in his eyes.
Ah, you must be Lieutenant Worf. You have the look of a warrior.
He grins, extending a hand.
You know, I once arm wrestled a Sontaran general. Nasty business. But I think you and I might have more in common than you realize.
Worf's expression softens slightly, intrigued despite himself.
You are a warrior?
He asks, eyeing the doctor's lanky frame skeptically. The doctor's smile fades, replaced by a look of ancient weariness.
I've fought in more wars than I care to remember, Mr. Worf. Sometimes with weapons, sometimes with words, but always for what's right.
Guinan's face shows a solemn look.
This isn't just about your universe or his. The Cyber-Borg represent a convergence of two of the most terrifying forces in existence. If they're not stopped here, they'll spread across all of time and space, assimilating and upgrading everything in their path.
As the diverse group begins to interact, a sense of shared purpose starts to emerge. The doctor's manic energy blends with Picard's steady leadership. Data's analytical mind finds a kindred spirit in the doctor's vast knowledge. The battle begins. The bridge of the Enterprise lurches as the Cyber-Borg cube unleashes a barrage of weapons fire. The view screen flickers, revealing a massive cube bristling with a nightmarish fusion of Borg and Cyberman technology. Picard's eyes narrow as he steadies himself.
Mr. Worf, return fire. Evasive maneuvers, pattern Delta.
As the Enterprise weaves through space, Picard and the Doctor spring into action. The captain's tactical prowess meshes with the Time Lord's unconventional thinking.
Doctor, what can you tell us about their weapons?
Picard asks calmly.
They've combined the Borg's adaptive shielding with the Cybermen's energy conversion. We need to think outside the box, Captain.
The Doctor replies, his eyes gleaming with excitement and concern. The Cyber-Borg demonstrates an uncanny ability to adapt to the Enterprise's attacks. Each phaser blast becomes less effective, and the ship's shields strain under the relentless assault. The crew exchange worried glances as another Starfleet vessel falls to the devastating weaponry. Riker leads an away team to infiltrate the cube, guided by the Doctor's voice over the comm.
Their neural network is their weakness. Disrupt it to slow them down.
In engineering, Data and Geordi implement the Doctor's modifications to the deflector dish.
These equations are unlike anything I've seen.
Geordi mutters, awed and frustrated. Data's fingers move at superhuman speed.
The Doctor's temporal mechanics theories are fascinating. If we modulate the deflector array correctly, we may create a localized time dilation effect around the cube.
On the bridge, tension mounts as more Starfleet ships fall. The Doctor creates temporal shields around key Enterprise systems.
This buys us time, but it won't hold forever.
He shouts over the battle's din. Worf incorporates the Doctor's time-bending strategies into the attack patterns. His eyes narrow in concentration as he fires a spread of quantum torpedoes, their trajectory altered by microsecond temporal shifts from the TARDIS. For a moment, the tide turns. The Enterprise's weapons breakthrough, landing a critical hit on the cube. A cheer rises from the crew as explosions bloom across the enemy vessel. But their celebration is short-lived. The Cyber-Borg cube shimmers and distorts, its structure twisting impossibly. Before the stunned crew, it splits apart, transforming into a swarm of smaller, agile ships that dart through space with terrifying speed. The bridge crew watches in horror as the new threat emerges, realizing that the battle has only just begun. Race against time. The Cyber-Borg swarm dances through space, a deadly ballet of destruction. But as the Enterprise crew watches in horror, something far worse begins to unfold. The fabric of reality itself starts to warp and twist, creating a nightmarish kaleidoscope of fractured timelines.
The Cyber-Borg are causing a temporal rupture.
The Doctor shouts, his eyes wide with panic.
Both our universes are at risk.
Alarms blare across the Enterprise as the crew scrambles to respond. Captain Picard's face hardens as he realizes the full scope of the threat. It's no longer just about saving his ship or even the Federation. The fate of two entire universes hangs in the balance. The Doctor rushes to the nearest console, his fingers flying over the controls.
We need to seal the breach between universes before both are destroyed,
he explains, his voice tinged with urgency.
But it won't be easy. The TARDIS can create temporal shields, but they won't be enough on their own.
Picard nods, his mind racing through potential solutions.
Mr. Data, work with the Doctor to integrate the TARDIS's temporal shielding technology with our deflector dish. We'll need every advantage we can get.
As Data and the Doctor begin their work, tension mounts on the bridge. Picard and the Time Lord find themselves at odds, each fearing for their own reality. The Doctor's more intuitive approach to temporal mechanics clashes with Picard's adherence to Starfleet protocols.
We can't just throw caution to the wind,
Picard argues.
Well, Captain, I can tell you this. There are no rules for this kind of situation.
The Doctor retorts. Their debate is cut short as Data delivers a chilling report.
Captain, I have completed my calculations. Based on the current rate of temporal degradation, there is only a 12.7% chance of successfully sealing the breach while preserving both universes.
The implications of Data's words hang heavy in the air. An impossible choice looms before them. Sacrifice one universe to save the other, or risk losing everything in an attempt to save both? Before anyone can respond, the ship rocks violently. The Cyber-Borg launch a final, desperate assault, pushing through the Enterprise's weakened defenses. On the view screen, the swarm of enemy ships grows larger, their weapons leaving trails of distorted space-time in their wake.
I have a plan.
The Doctor says, his voice low and serious.
But it's risky. We'll need to use the TARDIS in conjunction with your warp core to create a temporal feedback loop. It could seal the breach and neutralize the Cyber-Borg threat, or it could tear both our universes apart.
The bridge falls silent as all eyes turn to Picard. The weight of two universes rests on his shoulders. Can he trust this eccentric Time Lord with the fate of everything he's sworn to protect? Picard takes a deep breath, his decision made.
Make it so, Doctor, for both our sakes.
The next few minutes are a blur of activity. The Doctor races back and forth between the TARDIS and the Enterprise's engineering section, shouting instructions to a bewildered Geordi. Data's fingers fly across his console, inputting calculations faster than any human could comprehend. Worf coordinates the remaining weapon systems, ready to provide cover fire if needed. As the Cyber-Borg close in for the kill, the Doctor emerges from the TARDIS, a manic grin on his face.
Ready when you are, Captain.
Picard nods, his voice steady as he gives the order.
Engage.
The Enterprise's warp core hums to life, its energy intertwining with the otherworldly power of the TARDIS. A shimmering bubble of temporal energy expands from the ship, engulfing the Cyber-Borg swarm. For a moment, everything seems to freeze. Then, with a silent flash that momentarily blinds everyone on the bridge, the Cyber-Borg vanish. The view screen shows only empty space, the stars twinkling peacefully as if nothing had happened. Data breaks the stunned silence.
Captain, sensors indicate the temporal rupture has been sealed. Both universes appear to be stable.
As temporal energies dissipate, the Enterprise crew and the Doctor stand in awe of their shared victory. The Cyber-Borg threat is neutralized, but the experience has left its mark. Picard and the Doctor exchange knowing glances, recognizing each other's unique strengths.
We're all connected.
Picard muses.
To each other, our universes, and infinite possibilities.
The Doctor nods, smiling.
Through that connection, we find strength to do what's right and kind.
As the TARDIS dematerializes, Data observes.
Perhaps the greatest frontier is the infinite possibilities of existence itself.
The crew's perspective shifts, realizing their adventure has expanded their understanding of reality. They ponder what other cross-universe adventures await.